Anger is a powerful emotion, and often it's not just the external world that triggers it, but also the way we respond to ourselves. In Buddhism, the practice of understanding and managing anger is central to achieving peace and mental clarity. This video will explore the Buddhist teachings that can help us stop punishing ourselves with anger. Each lesson will provide practical steps for applying these teachings in your everyday life, allowing you to heal, grow, and move towards a more peaceful existence. Lesson 1. Challenge negative self-talk. At the heart of anger often lies negative self-talk. This internal dialogue can make us feel inadequate, worthless, or misunderstood. When we make mistakes or face challenges, it's easy to fall into a cycle of harsh judgment. We might tell ourselves, "I'm not good enough," or "I should be better by now." These thoughts fuel self-anger and keep us stuck in a state of suffering. Buddhism teaches us that thoughts are not the ultimate truth. They come and go like clouds in the sky. We are not our thoughts. By learning to challenge these negative patterns, we break the cycle of self-punishment. Instead of allowing negative thoughts to control us, we can choose to step back and observe them. Begin by acknowledging when negative self-talk arises. Recognize that these are just thoughts and they don't define who you are. Buddhist mindfulness practices suggest observing thoughts without judgment. When you notice negative thoughts, pause. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? How would I speak to a friend who is struggling? Once you become aware of your negative self-talk, you can challenge it. Replace harsh judgments with kinder, more realistic thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, "I always mess things up," try saying, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it and do better next time." By doing this, you start to create a new narrative that is compassionate and understanding. In Buddhism, the practice of right speech is key. Right speech means speaking kindly to yourself, just as you would speak to others with care and respect. When you challenge negative self-talk, you are choosing to align with this principle of right speech and begin the path toward healing. Lesson 2. Practice self-compassion. Anger towards ourselves often stems from a lack of compassion. We tend to be our harshest critics. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate compassion for ourselves as part of our spiritual practice. Self-compassion is not about excusing harmful behavior or avoiding responsibility, but about treating ourselves with the same kindness that we would offer a loved one in distress. When we practice self-compassion, we stop punishing ourselves for mistakes and imperfections. We learn to accept our flaws as part of being human, and instead of judging ourselves, we offer kindness and understanding. This creates space for healing and growth. To practice self-compassion, start by acknowledging your suffering. It could be pain from a recent failure, a difficult situation, or old wounds. Instead of suppressing or ignoring this pain, allow yourself to feel it. Buddhist teachings emphasize that suffering is an inevitable part of life, but it doesn't have to define us. When you recognize your pain, you open the door to healing. Next, treat yourself with care. Speak kindly to yourself when you are struggling. Remind yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. Say, "It's all right to make mistakes. I am doing my best." When you treat yourself with compassion, you'll find that anger fades away, replaced by a sense of peace. One powerful practice in Buddhism is loving kindness meditation, or metta. This involves silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering." By repeating these words, you are planting seeds of self-compassion and kindness in your heart. You can also extend this compassion to others, which deepens the sense of peace and connection. Lesson 3. Focus on self-care. In our busy lives, we often forget to take care of ourselves. We prioritize work, family, and responsibilities while neglecting our own well-being. This neglect can build resentment, anger, and frustration, both towards others and ourselves. Buddhist teachings stress the importance of self-care as a way to cultivate balance and inner peace. Self-care is not just about pampering yourself, it's about nourishing your body, mind, and spirit. This can include physical activities like yoga or walking, which help reduce stress and clear your mind. It can also involve taking time for rest, ensuring that you get enough sleep and recharge your energy. Buddhism teaches that the body and mind are interconnected. When you take care of your body, your mind becomes more peaceful. In fact, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, a key Buddhist teaching, emphasizes mindfulness of the body, feelings, mind, and mental objects. By practicing mindfulness of the body, you begin to understand how your physical state affects your emotional state. To begin your self-care practice, take small steps. Make time every day for something that brings you peace, whether it's reading, meditating, or enjoying a cup of tea. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Just start where you are. As you give yourself permission to rest and recharge, your anger will begin to lessen, and you will feel more grounded and at ease. Self-care also includes nurturing your emotional health. Practice saying no when necessary and set boundaries that honor your needs. By doing so, you're respecting your own well-being and preventing resentment from building up. Lesson 4. Set realistic expectations. Anger often arises when things don't go as planned. We set high expectations for ourselves and others, and when reality falls short, we feel frustrated and disappointed. Buddhism teaches us that suffering comes from attachment to expectations and the desire for things to be different than they are. In the Buddhist concept of suffering, we learn that the root cause of anger and frustration is our attachment to how things should be. The truth is, life is unpredictable, and the only constant is change. By setting realistic expectations and letting go of rigid plans, we allow ourselves to be more adaptable and less reactive. Start by examining your expectations. Are they realistic? Are they aligned with your current situation? Instead of aiming for perfection, try focusing on progress. If you make a mistake, rather than beating yourself up, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? This shift in perspective helps release anger and opens the door to growth and improvement. Buddhism also teaches the importance of living in the present moment. When you focus on what is happening right now, without the need to control or manipulate the future, you reduce the chances of disappointment and frustration. Practice setting small, achievable goals that are in line with your current abilities and allow yourself to celebrate each step forward. Lesson 5. Forgive yourself. Forgiveness is a central theme in Buddhism, not only in relation to others, but also toward ourselves. When we hold on to guilt and shame for past actions, we punish ourselves, keeping anger alive. Buddhism teaches that holding on to grudges, even against ourselves, only creates more suffering. To forgive yourself, you must first recognize that you are human, just like everyone else. You make mistakes, but that doesn't mean you are a failure. Forgiveness begins with understanding that everyone deserves compassion, including yourself. To start the process of self-forgiveness, reflect on what you feel guilty about. Acknowledge your mistake or regret, but don't dwell on it. Buddhists believe that clinging to negative emotions or past actions traps us in the cycle of suffering. Instead, make the choice to let go. Understand that by holding on to guilt, you are prolonging your own suffering. A powerful Buddhist practice for forgiveness is the concept of metta, or loving kindness. When you forgive yourself, you invite healing into your heart. Say to yourself, I forgive myself. I am worthy of peace. I am doing my best. This affirmation helps release anger and promotes self-love and acceptance. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you won't learn from the past. It means you are freeing yourself from the heavy burden of regret. With forgiveness, you can move forward with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. Lesson 6. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is a cornerstone of Buddhist practice, and it is one of the most powerful tools for managing anger. Mindfulness teaches us to be present, to observe our thoughts and emotions without attachment or judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we stop reacting impulsively to situations, and instead, we create space for thoughtful responses. When anger arises, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath. Observe the sensations in your body. Where do you feel the anger? Is it in your chest, your stomach, your fists? Simply noticing these sensations creates a pause between the stimulus and your reaction. Through mindfulness, you learn to separate yourself from your emotions. You recognize that emotions are temporary. They arise and pass away like waves in the ocean. Instead of letting anger control you, you control your reaction by observing the emotion without judgment. Mindfulness also teaches us to be present in our relationships with others. Often, we get angry because we feel misunderstood or unheard. When we practice mindfulness in our interactions, we listen more deeply without rushing to respond or defend ourselves. This leads to greater empathy and understanding, both for ourselves and others. To cultivate mindfulness, start with small moments throughout your day. When you eat, eat mindfully. When you walk, walk mindfully. By practicing mindfulness in everyday activities, you strengthen your ability to stay calm and present in moments of anger. The Buddhist path to peace involves breaking free from the cycle of anger and self-punishment. By challenging negative self-talk, practicing self-compassion, focusing on self-care, setting realistic expectations, forgiving ourselves, and embracing mindfulness, we create space for healing and growth. Each step we take on this path brings us closer to the peace and happiness that is our true nature. With patience, kindness, and persistence, we can stop punishing ourselves with anger and live a life full of love, understanding, and freedom.